The sprint format found its perfect moment, a combination of the fantastic characteristics of the Austin track and a phase where the top 4 teams are very close in performance. This led to a highly entertaining and fiercely contested short race, even though Max Verstappen's first position was never truly under threat. However, much was revealed about the on-track dynamics over the 19 laps on the Texan circuit. Starting with the winner, Max Verstappen's return to first place, even if only in a sprint, was certainly a breath of fresh air for both him and his RB20 single-seater. The Milton Keynes car's performance was convincing, especially in the first sector, where the snake proved to be prime hunting ground for the Dutchman, who made the most of the stiffness and responsiveness of his car that has been evident since the start of the 2024 Formula One season. In terms of tire management, the Dutchman seemed very comfortable, but it must be noted that he led a somewhat solitary race, even though his rivals were just a couple of seconds behind. While behind him, there was plenty of action with fierce battles lasting several laps among the drivers chasing him. Ferrari appeared to be the leading force, though qualifying remains a concern. Carlos Sainz finished second behind Max Verstappen with a stunning performance, winning a tough battle with his Maranello teammate. Overall, Ferrari seemed to be the strongest on track, limited only by the qualifying result. They demonstrated race pace and tire degradation on par, if not better, than Max Verstappen's. Despite the many battles Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc faced both against each other, and with George Russell and Lando Norris. The weakest point of the SF24 single-seater appeared to be the snake in the first sector, where the car lacked the suspension reactivity needed. However, from turn 11 onward, the Maranello team's car excelled. Traction and braking phases along the longitudinal axis were phenomenal, and in the third sector, with its long and slow corners in the horseshoe section, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc drove the best car on track. Aerodynamically, excelling in such long corners signals a concrete step forward in terms of aerodynamic stability, especially at high yaw angles, which was a previously declared weak point for Ferrari before the latest updates. Ultimately, in race conditions, Ferrari could probably aim for victory, but qualifying remains a delicate hurdle, with the soft tires movement still being a complicated issue to manage. Turning to the Woking team, Lando Norris got off to a fantastic start, putting him in second behind the title rival. However, after a strong first phase, Norris showed a noticeable drop-off compared to Verstappen and the Ferraris, likely due to imperfect tire management, with the front tires becoming difficult to handle in the closing laps. The impression is that the new updates brought by Andrea Stella's team require a modified baseline setup, which the team couldn't nail down in the only hour of free practice available. It will be interesting to see if and how McLaren adjusts its setups for qualifying, considering the open park conditions and the lessons learned during the sprint. As for Mercedes, it seems the car's low downforce setup works well for single-lap performance with the soft tires, but in race-pace conditions, the car fell out of its ideal operating window, facing much higher tire degradation than its rivals. The upcoming qualifying session promises to be particularly intriguing, with plenty of storylines. Red Bull needs to confirm their strength, McLaren must improve their setup balance, and Ferrari needs to minimize their struggles with the soft compound, as their race potential seems capable of delivering strong results. At this point, it is also worth pointing out the internal battle at Ferrari in the United States Grand Prix sprint race. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz fought each other and perhaps lost the chance to challenge their rivals for the race win. A fierce battle erupted right from the start when the Spaniard immediately tried to pull alongside and overtake his teammate. Overtakes, counter-overtakes, lockups, and almost a contact. A thrilling contest that ultimately benefited their rivals. The Austin sprint race gave us an incredibly interesting preview for Sunday's race. The Circuit of the Americas once again proved to be a wonderful track open to overtakes and duels, as it always has been throughout its history. Wide open until the last lap, Saturday's race did not disappoint those who chose to stay home during the Italian evening. But among all the on-track battles, the key moment was the fight between the two Ferrari drivers. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz started from 3rd and 5th positions, respectively, but by the very first corner, they were already side by side. The Monegasque driver, victim of a brilliant start by Lando Norris, was pushed to 4th place and immediately found himself next to his Maranello teammate. From the second lap onward, the duel intensified. Carlos Sainz made his first attack at turn 12, but Charles Leclerc defended well and held his position. The Circuit of the Americas, however, offers plenty of opportunities for overtaking and re-overtaking. and the two kept swapping track position in Sector 3. This dynamic repeated over the following laps until the 6th, when the Spaniard secured the position for good. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen comfortably managed his tires, while Lando Norris, after a brief battle with George Russell, settled into second place. The SF24 was flying on the Texas track, but the time and energy lost in the early duel didn't allow the Ferraris to fully exploit their potential. In the end, Lando Norris's drop-off allowed Carlos Sainz to claim the second step on the podium, while Charles Leclerc had to settle for fourth place. The fratricidal duel between the two Ferrari drivers, however, didn't go unnoticed. Almost half the race was spent in overtakes and counter-overtakes, sometimes perhaps risking more than necessary. Carlos Sainz highlighted the fairness of the battle, and he secured a respectable result at the end of the sprint race. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, appeared more frustrated, commenting on a different approach to the race. Amid the tension, Vasseur intervened to prevent any potential controversy. The Ferrari team principal emphasized that issuing team orders during the Austin sprint race would have been a mistake. The French manager expressed confidence in his drivers, noting that they had done a good job, avoiding contact, overtaking Lando Norris, and staying relatively close to Max Verstappen. Vasseur acknowledged the fluctuations in race pace, with some laps being stronger than others, and reiterated that trusting his drivers had been the right decision, as both the Maranello team and the drivers delivered a solid performance. These comments helped ease tensions within the Ferrari garage, but they don't rule out a change in strategy for the main race. A more controlled approach between the two Ferrari drivers could provide a real chance of victory, even on a circuit that is theoretically unfavorable to them.